Well, there were questions for a while, but no more about Jones' status as the #1 fighter in the sport. But the questions which haunt his career are those of the what might have been variety. What kind of a mark could Roy Jones have made on the history of the sport if he had had a chance to fight the kinds of opponents so many of his contemporaries have found? In the colorful annals of boxing, truly legendary fighters have all had one thing in common. They've all been in fights where they've met their match and still came out on top. Muhammad Ali did it with Joe Frazier, Sugar Ray Leonard with Tommy Hearns, and Aaron Pryor with Alexis Arguello.
You never had that friction or have never rubbed up against a great fighter, you're penalized. You're penalized in memory, you're penalized in records, and you're penalized in your placement in history.
So how do you judge a fighter who hasn't faced that type of challenge, but who has defeated the best fighters in 3 different weight divisions? How do you judge a fighter who's won 15 championship fights, but hasn't had a defining trial by fire? How do you judge Roy Jones Jr.?
Roy Jones Jr. has not had that partner to define his greatness. I think that Roy Jones Jr.'s true greatness may never be realized because there may not be an opponent out there that you can gauge his greatness with.
Roy Jones disagrees with his current place in boxing history. He believes he has faced world-class opposition, but skillfully reduced them and picked them apart. He believes he's been too good for his own good.
Take a person like Bernard Hopkins, who hasn't lost a fight since 1993. Who beat him?
He's super fast, hits very hard, has every conceivable skill.
Take a person like James Toney, who was knocking out everybody he came across, who was considered pound for pound the best fighter at that time. Who beat him? Easy. None other than shut him down.
Left hook, and down goes Toney.
Virgil Hill. He held the light heavyweight division, what, 9 years? He was on top of that. Who stopped him with a body shot?
First time Virgil Hill's ever been knocked out.
When you get to where you are that far ahead of your competition, it's very difficult to have someone to rub up against. Nobody else can come close to you.
It's a problem that few all-time great fighters have ever faced, but it's something former heavyweight champion Larry Holmes knows about all too well.
He didn't fight anybody. Oh, what you mean I didn't fight anybody? I fought the best out there. I held the title for 7.5 years, longer than anybody, and so they don't really want to give me my just due.
Like Holmes, Roy came along just a few years after some legendary fighters who might have helped to define him.
People are going to say that he couldn't beat Sugar Ray Leonard or Marvin Hagler or Tommy Hearns or whoever you want to say. But those people were not in this time. He can't turn the clock back. I hate to say it, they're going to do him like they do me. They're not going to recognize him until he can no longer fight.
At least Holmes rallied back from adversity on numerous occasions. Roy Jones has never had to do it, and he may need to find bigger challenges to create that sort of adversity, maybe even by stepping up to heavyweight.
I'm not taking those stupid chances I don't have to. They want to see me bleed, but I'm not. They want to see me down and out. I'm not going that way if I can help it, man. They remember me as one of the smartest people to ever come in this game.
Smart. Maybe too smart to be unforgettable.
The only place for Roy Jones Jr. is a place to be known as a guy who maybe beat his competition by the widest margins of any fighter in the history of the sport.
I've written books on 100 greatest boxers of all time and great fights of all time. As of now, I can't put Roy in either of them.
For now, Roy Jones has set a new precedent for competitive margins over his opponents. But will that be enough to help us remember his greatness? And we bring you back live to ringside. Larry, let's pick up right off the theme of the feature piece. Roy Jones says that he's fighting against a mandatory challenger in what odds makers say is a mismatch, simply because there are no serious contenders in his division. True or false?
It's true, but it's also false. It's true that there are no serious challenges for Roy Jones as a light heavyweight, but there are serious challenges if he wants them. If he wants to do what the great dominant fighters of history have all done. They've moved up in weight looking for challenges. In a recent magazine article, Roy Jones modestly was quoted as saying he's a combination of Foreman's punch, Ali's speed, Robinson's skill, and Hagler's toughness, even allowing for some poetic egotism. That's some package. And so fans are entitled to ask, if that's true, why is he fighting fighters who on their best night don't have a chance to beat him on his worst night?
I think he left out Merchant's incisiveness. Well, George, Roy Jones scarcely ever loses a round, much less a fight. Hall, 100-to-1 underdog, is regarded as a puncher. So should he just come out trying to land something big from the beginning?
Yeah, I look at all fights for good reasons. 0-0 once that bell rings. Any guy has a chance. I learned the hard way. You get out there, give it all you got. You can only do one thing, win the title. You don't have it in the first place when you get in the ring. He can win it. Just go for it.
That's right, because he's in the ring, right?
He's in the ring. One man is no different from the other.
All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape for Roy Jones Jr. against Richard Hall, and you can see that the clock is ticking on Jones's historic greatness at age 31. He gives up 4 inches in height to an unusually tall light heavyweight and 4 inches in reach. They weighed in 1.5 pounds and a half pound under the limit, and on our unofficial HBO scale, by tonight, Roy Jones has put on 8.5 pounds, and Hall has put on 4. Numbers, Larry.
Take a look at how Roy Jones has done against conventional fighters and southpaws. Offensively, the numbers are virtually the same. No difference at all in how many punches thrown or landed. Defensively, however, southpaws have a very difficult time landing on Roy Jones. That's why he has beaten them so decisively.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
Okay, Jim, as you see on the screen, the Roy Jones Jr. Richard Hall fight will be under the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. But, Jim, I got to report that around 8 o'clock tonight, the World Boxing Council showed up and said that unless one of their judges is used, that they were going to take the title away from Roy Jones and they weren't going to sanction this. So the Indiana Commission has been playing musical judges with us since 8 o'clock. The judges will be Gary Merritt from Indiana, Alejandro Rochin from Mexico, and David Harris from Austin, Texas.
As absurd as it was for one of the so-called governing bodies to strip Lennox Lewis of his heavyweight crown, it would be 100 times more absurd for a governing body to strip Roy Jones of the light heavyweight title. Here's Richard Hall as he enters to try to make his bid to strip Roy Jones of the light heavyweight title the only way it should be stripped, with his fists.
Hall is an interesting character with an interesting story. We'll see how interesting a fighter he is. Comes from Jamaica, where he was orphaned, or his family abandoned him when he was very young. At the age of 12 and 13, he was living alone on the beaches, hustling a living. Eventually found his way into a gym.
Tough life. As a teenager, he was momentarily charged with attempted murder when he stabbed an uncle who, as it turned out, had abused him brutally for years. When the police found out the real story, they dropped the charges against Hall. Fortunately for him, he's found a way to make a living with his fists and arrives here with a big chance against Roy Jones. Richard Hall is a puncher. Against nondescript opposition, he's got 24 wins and 25 fights, 23 of them by KO. He's also a southpaw, as 5 of Jones's last 6 opponents have been. And here comes Roy. You can hear that Roy has been adopted by the populace of Indianapolis.
Well, as I said before, Jim, it's a light heavyweight town. Marvin Johnson was a very good light heavyweight champion back in the 80s from Indianapolis.
There were storm warnings here last night, one of those summer lightning festivals that often show up in this part of the Midwest. And now the storm warning for Hall is being sounded by the crowd as Jones arrives at ringside. For Roy Jones, 41 wins, the one loss by disqualification against Griffin when he hit Griffin while he was down. That was avenged on a first round knockout, one of the 33 Jones has scored in his career. And we remind you, as you watch this telecast, you can log on to www.hbo.com/boxing to score each round of this fight. You can have a live chat with boxing journalist Steve Farhood after the telecast is over tonight. And while online, please participate in the website question. Roy Jones was named the Boxing Writers Association's Fighter of the Decade. Was he the fighter of the 90s, or should that honor have gone to Oscar De La Hoya, or Evander Holyfield, or Felix Trinidad, or Lennox Lewis, or any other fighter you might write in? Give us your vote. We'll give you the results later on in the telecast. Now let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the pre-fight introductions. So many people in the ring were having trouble getting Michael Buffer's attention. And Jones decides to dance with Richard Hall.
I haven't seen Roy this exercise before a fight.
New York referee Wayne Kelly in there to separate the fighters. Excuse me, Larry.
I don't know what triggered that. Did you see it?
Ladies and gentlemen, M&M Sports, the Murad Muhammad promoter, in association with Square Ring, Caesars, Indiana, the Jordan Brand, and Pacers Sports and Entertainment present 12 rounds of boxing for the undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world. Sanctioned by the Indiana Boxing Commission. The three judges assigned to ringside scoring this bout on the 10-point must system will be Dave Harris, Gary Merritt, and Alejandro Roshin. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action, Wayne Kelly. And now for the largest crowd ever to attend boxing in Indiana and the millions watching around the world on HBO World Championship Boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, from Conseco Fieldhouse, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black trimmed with white, and weighing in at 174.5 pounds. He brings an excellent professional record to the ring tonight, consisting of 25 bouts, 24 victories, including 23 knockouts, with only one loss. Ladies and gentlemen, from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, here is the #1 ranked WBA light heavyweight challenger in the world, Richard the Destroyer Hall. And across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing silver and black, and weighing in at 173.5 pounds. In 1988, while deserving Olympic gold, he captured the silver medal. Since then, as a professional, his record stands at 41 victories, including 33 knockouts with only one loss, and that avenged, while garnering 4 world titles and being universally recognized as pound for pound, the best in the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, from Pensacola, Florida, presenting the 4-time world champion, the reigning and defending undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
Roy, we're boxing for the undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world. I expect a clean fight. Obey my commands at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Shake hands, come out boxing at the bell. Good luck, 12 rounds.
Conventional wisdom is that light heavyweights have as much chance of beating Roy Jones as of winning $300 million in a lottery. Whoa. Let's see if Hall has a better chance than that. He comes from Jamaica, and Jamaica has produced some good, rough, tough prize fighters over the years.
And Roy himself, in discussing this fight yesterday, was respectful enough to say, hey, he's a big puncher. I'm certainly going to be careful not to walk into anything in the first few rounds. But they come out swinging away.
Richard Hall has got the longer, he's got the better reach. So what he should do is take advantage of that and keep the fight at close range. If he does, Roy hasn't much of a chance.
Wait, I don't get it. If he's got the long reach...
I'm sorry, at long range.
Okay.
You want to keep the fight far away. Don't let Roy Jones get close at all. For what?
After his last fight against David Telesco, Jones said following the fight that he had broken a bone in his wrist 3 weeks before the fight and fought with a damaged left hand. He now says that the left hand is 90% healed, not 100, 90% healed as he comes into this bout. Right hand leads land twice to the face of Hall. Crowd loves it.
When you're that tall as Hall is, you don't want to do anything but just stick your hands out. You don't have to have power, just accurate. Just keep them out there.
Little left hook inside, momentarily wobbled Hall. Jones lands an uppercut with the right hand. Hall reaching with the left. Straight right hand up the middle by Jones. Left hook lands, and Hall is wobbling. Legs wobbling under Richard Hall as Jones sizes him up. Minute and a half left to go. Straight right hand lands. Jones was on his back foot for that one. Now he puts power behind the right hand, and down goes Hall. Second knockdown of Hall's career. Jones finally finds a neutral corner. Hall was up before the count began.
Hall had better hold on. Just hold it.
He's not going to do that.
Hold on and get your head clear.
He's not going to do it, George. He's going to keep throwing punches if Jones comes in.
I'm saying that's what he should do.
Yep. But he hasn't been in this kind of trouble before. He doesn't know. He's knocked out all of his opponents. He thinks he can keep swinging against Jones.
The one thing about Roy Jones, he has not been a good finisher in a long time.
Well, he hadn't had a first-round knockout since 1997 when he knocked out Montel Griffin. And you talked about his refusal to commit to finishing the way the big punchers in the division did.
No, there is no 3-knockdown rule. Remember that.
Thank you, Larry. Good point. Because we're about to see a third knockdown if Roy goes after it. Nope. Round one is going to come to a close with Hall still in the fight.
Roy gave the crowd what they came to see.
He's hitting you with a right hand. Okay. All right? Okay. Don't pause out. He's throwing the right hand at you now. Stay down low. Come on. I told you you're going to have to take some big shots from him. He's just strong early now. Do basic stuff. Circle him. Don't stay in front of him. Use your jab. Now you got to move your head quick. Okay. All right? Okay. Roll up under. Okay. How you feeling, Richard?
Customarily, Roy Jones will go after a guy in the first round, test him to see how available he is to be hit. If he is available, he'll go for him. If he's not, he'll step back and try to break him down. Hall is a very big target for a light heavyweight at 6'3".
Aaron Snowell gave Richard Hall excellent advice between rounds. He said, I reminded you, you were going to have to take some big shots. Now get out there and circle and move your head. That's what Hall has to do to try to stay away from Jones. Snowell suggesting that Roy's power will diminish as the rounds go by.
Roy takes no chances. He always keeps some power in reserve, so he will not burn himself out. He's right in that area. But Hall, he gave him bad advice to move his head. You got to stand up tall. Don't even put your head down there in this range. Use your height.
Hall lands a right hand to the body. Jones misses with the left and now rakes Hall with the right. Another short right hand lands inside. Hall starting to take the right hand just a little better than in round one.
Don't want to take them too many of those, though.
Hall is bending his knees. He should bring his legs a little closer together and be tall. He's getting right down there where the power of Roy Jones is. Why move your head when all you got to do is just stand up straight and your head is not there?
And he's not circling. He is remembering the jab. And now Hall feels aggressive and goes to Jones's body against the ropes.
I can tell you this, Roy Jones initiated that clutch. He's trying to get a little air now because he's throwing those punches up high.
Yep, he's winded.
And when you're in training, those hand pads, everything is at your level. You start reaching up high, takes a lot of wind to do that.
Jones smiling after he scored the uppercut. Hall may be convincing himself now that he's weathered the early storm. Jones, having gotten a little rest, steps in to begin firing again. Uppercut missed.
Jones is pretty clever. He gets lower than even he is supposed to make his guy reach down at him. And if he can get him reaching down, he can land uppercuts. That's what Jones is trying to do. Duck, duck, and throw an uppercut.
Here's the pattern that has bedeviled Jones from time to time in his career as he backs into a corner and invites Hall in.
And Hall is landing good body punches.